I was reflecting on my own self, like what I need in men's groups and the specifics of that. And I think for my own story, I think for men at the moment, we have stories put on us. I think in society, as men and women, we both have stories put on us about who we are. And I think a lot of the story that I had growing up in Ireland was around not showing my feelings. Be a strong man, don't show any emotions. And so that's something then that for me, I have held throughout my life in my 20s and my 30s, that I am a strong man and that I don't want to show weakness. And so that's something that has in the past then stopped me or made me unconsciously scared of men's groups, because I know that in men's groups that will be challenged and other men will see parts of me that I don't necessarily want to see myself. And I will also have to deal with my own emotions, you know. So I think that there are two things that are in society at the moment: the ideas around men that we don't have emotions or we shouldn't have emotions, and to have emotions and to show vulnerability, that we are seen as weak.
I think where I came to, I mean, 24 hours thinking about that question, it comes right back to the original quote, I think came from the scriptures, which is, "What ails thee?" And when I grew up, and it does relate, you know, this is me, this is my piece. I had no idea what ailed me, because I was so invested in being the macho man, you know, I'm not vulnerable, I'm as good as I can get, you know, projecting this image, a false one, until I heard from one of my best mates, an American, who said to me, eye to eye, "You're fucked up." I was 29 and I thought I had it all. But I didn't want to hear that. It took me another 10 years to realize, oh dear, there was something ailing me. And the rest of my life has been involved in men's groups.
In terms of the men's groups, then it's like we get an opportunity to sit with other men. And the main thing about that is that we realize that we have shared stories and that a lot of us have also gone through the similar things. And we get the opportunity to really see another man's pain and vulnerability, which gives me permission to be a little bit more vulnerable with myself, to show the weaker parts of me. And then so that helps to drop that facade of like, I don't need anyone, I'm really strong, and so on like that.
The reality is that the piece that I needed to uncover was I was trying to hide the belief I had about myself that I wasn't good enough. That was the piece that needed to have some light shone on it brightly, because I'd allowed it over 30 years and more to grow into such a monster, not a monster, but an identity that I felt I could fit in. And that is so different to the man I truly want to be. And I have a passion for men showing up real, so that they can rage and cry in my presence and be valued, really valued. I will honor those emotions when and if they come forth, because that's how it is. We're human beings, and that means you can be your emotional self as well.
What I really see in men's groups, we do this thing where if we're having a sharing and we relate to what another man is saying, we put up our hand. This is in the last couple of years, obviously, on Zoom. But for a man to share something that's very vulnerable to him, and to have 5 or 6 other men on the screen put up their hand, you can see how it impacts people, because we think we're on our own with our problems. And to know that other men share our stories gives us the possibility of being more relaxed in ourselves, you know.
Recognizing what gets in the way of me being 100% present, to the question, and coming from that central heart beating place that says, this is me, there is a part that ails, that troubles me still, but if I name it, it's less likely to trip me up in being present to whatever there is. And yet it's still there. The potential for me coming from a troubled part of my history, story, rather than the passion I have to promote what we now call men's work, i.e. the inner journey, and supporting that so that I can realize my dreams and yours. So
it's an unfolding process. I think that whenever, as an individual, I went to a men's group and then ended up in this whole other terrain that I didn't even know about. So we will all get something different out of it, you know. So it's not to say that you have a predetermined something that you're going to get out of it. But I think the power of men coming together is something in itself. That's all I would say.